Okay, welcome to another episode of the PracticeBloom podcast. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We get asked a lot about this, and it's the two different factors of marketing. And one of the things we talk about is from push to pull and earning patients by being in your tribe. So this is a different concept than what's been sort of outlaid in the market for the last 10 years, which is really to push advertising into the market and expect to have a reaction of interest from a offer or from a offer of your practice and your expertise. And the challenge is, as we've grown into the new market of, especially now between the last couple of years, we're seeing a whole different segment of market starting to pop up. If you have an established practice or you've had a practice for years, you'll understand this, is that you can actually be impacted by competitors coming into your space that really have relatively no history or tenure, and they can interrupt a market because they're being visible. And really, if you think about this, markets are getting informed in all different ways today, and you have to think about what you're going to do in order to support this. And really, you can dominate a market by being the one in that space who's the most, let's just say, informational, but at the same point, you really have to push across a message of not being obviously pushy in your message, but being relevant. And so there's a lot of clutter in the market space today. So you can think about, if you look at your local geographic territory or your engagement from a regional level, there's a lot of players. There's a lot of different practitioners, especially in your typical type of vertical. There could be dozens or even hundreds, especially in large cities like Manhattan. In the same block, there could be dozens of competitors of the same type of practice. So what we really want to think about is how do we get beyond that clutter? And the story is really what I'm talking about here. And this is, again, not about the interruption factor. A lot of people are just trying to push the strategy of making sure that their AdWords are running, making sure that they've pushed a message out there that they're available, they're available, they're available. Hey, we've got the best offer. We're the best practitioner in this slice. You have to use us. Where really the market is starting to fragment off into the time factor, right? So there's a lot of time that's being spent in social channels. And if you think about people thumbing through their phone all day, the real value is not begging for business, but really starting to evangelize your information properly. And the reason why I'm trying to bring up evangelizing is that people follow people. Just like you'd see in any event where a line starts to form, people just gravitate towards a line because they expect that's where they're supposed to go. And it's the same thing with a practitioner. If there's a lot of activity, a lot of reviews, a lot of action, and a lot of, let's just say, awareness of the practitioner's either their philosophy or their expertise and their information and their educational process, they're going to start to follow. And really what we're talking about at the end of the day is building a tribe. And that's why I say you can earn your patients by building people into your tribe. So it's really three things if you think about it. And that's really the point of this video, which is, will they talk about you? And that is a big question, right? So if someone sees you in either direct face-to-face, if they actually see you online and you present some information, or if you've come across them as a referral patient, will they talk about you? And that's a really good question, because that's where the magic happens. We all know that a lot of business is referral driven, but it's what happens when they want to talk about you online, because then you've got scale. And so I think that's where, if you can think about how to bring your story out and how you can differentiate yourself in the market by bringing a story that's relevant, informational, and your philosophy is dead on with really how you want to present this gigantic business that we're all involved in of healthcare, you really have to start to think about what will happen and can I earn and maintain the trust and relationship online. And I think that's really where we're starting to see the market explode, and that's where there's competition that can come in and erode a market, because they can come in and instantly have an impactful relationship, because they can start a relationship online by doing videos, by providing information. So you really have to think about this as part of your strategy. And that's really part of, will they commit? So we talk about the attribution scores of how people end up into some practice. And the attribution scores may be a couple of hits in Google, and then a couple of hits in Facebook, and then Instagram, and then back to Google, and then back to Instagram, and maybe to a video, and then back to the practice, and then back out to the playing field of Yahoo, Bing, Google. There's so many attribution hits today for these patients because they're actually online in different factions in all different modalities. So if you're approaching your message and you're taking your message and you're starting to distribute it and you're starting to get a tribe built, whether they're patients or not yet is inconsequential. What ends up happening is that people take a good message. So if your message is about a specific, let's say, practice derivative, it might be a specific practice element that you're a specialist in, and that message gets passed on, that's when the whole magic happens, because you've got scale of the internet and you've got scale of your message now being displayed in other people's areas without it being physically talked about. It's actually being pushed electronically. So we really want to think about this when we start to work with your story, which is you really want to think about how you can take your story and use retargeting and use consistency in your messaging so that you can become a person who's leading a tribe. So think about this with your video marketing, with your online strategy. Try to get a message out away from the push to pulling people through. Hope this helps. We'll see you in the next episode.